We are spoiled here in Metro Vancouver when it comes to the many types of cuisine that we can have access to. And a new restaurant is bringing a contemporary spin on Cambodian food. And the chef behind Tuk is Chef Chanthy Yen. You may know him as a winner of Top Chef Canada Season 11. And Chanthy has been good enough to join us in studio this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Stephen.
Thanks for being here. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for having me.
Take us back to your early life, if you can. What was the first recollection you have of, wanting to work with food, knowing that food had a meaning beyond something we just ate?
Yeah, so the earliest memory that I could think of is in my grandmother's kitchen. She had her own alarm clock system, mortar and pestle banging early in the morning with lemongrass and different roots. So it was the most nostalgic memory that I could really conjure up at this time. And that gave meaning because we were making grung every morning, which is kind of like the lifeblood of all of Cambodian cuisine with all of these different flavors. It was a very first base of seasoning that would have to make Cambodian cuisine.
And what was in it?
Lemongrass, galangal, ginger, all of these very fragrant roots. Yeah, all the good things.
And so when you're working with that sort of list of traditional ingredients, how far can you go with experimentation before you start betraying your ancestry and tradition?
I can answer this in two parts. So Canada has come so far in its diversity with agriculture. We live in the West Coast, so we could actually grow things that are in Southeast Asia. Look, Salt Spring Island is growing citrus. There's citrus trees there. We have a lovely supplier named Athiana Acres that's growing our lemongrass, which will be used on our menu almost on like 50% of our menu. When it comes to tradition, I don't want to be pigeonholed in traditional food.
Right.
I grew up in Canada. And when my family came as refugees, we only had what we could work with. And that was the food that I grew up with. So the food that I grew up with was implanted in Canada itself. So that is my trajectory. And to, have a non-traditional cuisine, but also expand it and grow it from my perspective.
And even in a place as diverse as the Lower Mainland, we don't see a lot of Cambodian cuisine. We see some Cambodian dishes sort of off to the side on a couple of not really Cambodian restaurants.
Absolutely. I think Cambodian cuisine is underrepresented. And I think there are very talented, very good restaurants out there. And for example, Phnom Penh. In Chinatown. They do a very good job of shining a little spotlight on Cambodian cuisine, and I just want to expand on that. I really appreciate them, showcasing, giving accessibility to Cambodian cuisine, and I just really want it to grow and be part of that team.
And what would you say are the defining characteristics of Cambodian cuisine compared to other Asian cuisines?
Well, from its neighboring countries, I think we balance the flavors a bit differently. Take, for example, with Thai cuisine, you have dishes that are a bit sweeter, a bit more vinegary, whereas in Cambodia, we acidify things with citrus. We acidify things with tamarind, for example. And there's just a different balance and flow of flavors that we do differently, a bit earthier, for example.
Back to Top Chef, you won Season 11, Top Chef Canada Season 11. That aired last year. How was that experience for you?
Oh, my goodness. You can't bring trauma this early in the morning, my goodness.
I looked so stressful.
It was stressful. So I think Top Chef Canada was one of the most difficult things I've done in my career. I've worked in Michelin-starred restaurants. I lived in Spain. I've, attempted to open restaurants in Montreal. This was the most difficult thing that I have done. I've even cooked for the Prime Minister, for example. But the reason why it was so difficult was because the challenges really measure you as an individual and as a chef to see how strong you are and unbreakable you are and how quickly you can really bounce back from challenge to challenge. And, you're facing off against so many other talented competitors from across Canada. And thank goodness we brought it home last year for Vancouver.
And did it push you in a way maybe you didn't expect? I mean, creatively, emotionally?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are so many moments where I wish I could just cry on camera, and I didn't want to give them that satisfaction. But it really did push me as a chef, and I know that ever since that I've won, I can now help support the communities that I represent, the immigrant community, the queer community, and I could really create a space for people to work and feel comfortable.
Tell me more about Took.
Took was an idea that my partner Cameron and I had thought up during COVID in Montreal. I was living in Montreal at that time, and of course, the restaurants had shut down. I had laid off all of our employees, and when I came back to the West Coast, which is where my partner lived, we were thinking, how can we, dig in and find more about ourselves and our cultural roots? And Tuk came up. It's a boat. Tuk means boat in Cambodian.
Okay.
And I want to be the vessel that I share all of these Cambodian stories through. And
A literal vessel.
exactly. It sounds cheesy now that I'm reading.
No, I love it. It's great.
And so I brought this idea back to the pub owner that I worked for in Montreal, and I brought this idea on my birthday. I was like, please make this my birthday gift, that I could do this pop-up called Tuk in Montreal. And that exploded. We had lineups down the block for people who were looking for Cambodian noodles. People were loving it. And, I was able to really connect with people on I would say, spiritual level,
Yeah.
because people had never tasted those dishes before. So I'm really glad to bring a rebirth of that idea in a flagship location and really elevate Cambodian cuisine.
We are out of time. I wish we had more time, but it's so great to meet you, and best of luck. How's it been going?
It's going great,
Yeah.
and I'm really excited to welcome guests this weekend for our soft opening and on New Year's for our very, very special Bringing in the New Year
And on Alberni Street.
on Alberni Street,
What-
1152 Alberni Street.
1152 Alberni Street. Thank you so much for coming in. Congratulations on all
Thank
this
you for
success.
having me.
Really appreciate it.
Take care.
That is Chanthy Yen, co-owner of Tuk Restaurant, Vancouver's newest Cambodian restaurant. And yes, it's doing a soft opening this weekend on Alberni Street.